Welcome to Aldon's Ledge in the Eternal Battlegrounds EV. As you can see, this is already a partially upgraded tower. Once again, I'm doing this on Seafarer's Rest during NA time, so it's quite dead, so I won't have any interruptions or anything. I want to start out with mentioning proper upgrade order, and I'll go down here to the supply depot, pull up the thing. You always, unequivocally, you want to do the door or the walls and the doors first, every single time on a tower. It buys you very, very valuable time for, like, if you do not have the siege to hold it, it buys you the time for your Zerg to get there to help defend it, or at least other people to help get on siege or build siege. When a tower is paper and has paper gates, it's extremely vulnerable. If someone comes along and it's a paper tower and they decide to throw down 5 superior rams, that thing's going to come down before you get anywhere close, your reinforcements get anywhere close to coming to save it. Now, the part where it varies a bit is when you get in the additions here, and fortify. Some towers, these are better than others to have with their placement in the tower. For Aldons, traditionally you want to get, once you have the doors done,
May Lissa aid you.
Once you have the doors done, you have more than enough to sufficiently to hold the place until reinforcements usually arrive. That means you can delay on fortify, which has no actual effect on the gate itself for the toughness and life force of the gate. It's strictly with the walls. So you have gate as far as you're going to get, and most towers get taken by a gate. So, with that in mind, you want to go first for oil here, which will finish relatively quickly, same with cannon. Now with most towers, you can just completely save mortar for the last and go to fortify. Not all the towers have a useful mortar capability. EBs are generally better than a lot of the borderland ones. The borderland ones are kind of finicky with what they can hit. Usually they're only there to hit trebs, which are long distance away. So with that in mind, it would be walls, doors, oil, cannons, fortify, and I'm going to just hit the second one for there. Mortar as your final structural upgrade. A little bit about second worker. Most towers in the game, second worker is actually not efficient. In EB, the front towers like Wild Creek and Cloven, do a map over here, and Quentin Lake and Durio, especially Ogres and Veloka. If you don't have SM, well, Veloka always, but if you don't have SM, those towers always upgrade ridiculously fast. Those, if you don't have SM, and you have supply coming in, that's when second worker is valuable. It's a little different on a keep, but for towers, you're only most likely going to get 1 yak in from one source, sometimes 2 on the Borderlands, but they won't always be upgraded. And even with all the other towers, especially like Aldon's here, the back towers in general, you will not get supply fast enough. Even if you have someone giving constant swiftness to the yak from beginning to end, and fully upgraded yaks, getting 70 supply in for each delivery, you will not. The worker will not build fast enough for the supply to build up to the point where you actually need second worker. Every time the yak gets to the tower, it will be at 0. And like I said, it's a little bit different when you don't have SM for the front towers, because the yak goes back and forth between the two. It's a much shorter trip. It gets there much faster, then it can build up. but I wanted to get that out of the way so you don't. People often like to go in and immediately order a second worker as soon as possible. That's not always the best way to do it. I kind of cringe sometimes when people waste supply on it. 'Cause more often than not, it's a wasted upgrade. Okay, moving right along here, back up to the mortar. And you can see there's already some siege in here. Someone must have gone to town on it earlier. This is the mortar site right here. I don't want to say it's a useless mortar, because it does have one specific use, and I'll get to that in a second, but you know, clearly if you have anything like maybe a treb kind of in there, you can kind of hit it with a mortar if you're really good trick shot. But chances are, if they're trebbing from that distance, then you have a force on your map that can respond by then. You're not too likely to. I rarely ever see this mortar used in that direction. You could theoretically use it to keep. If there's catas down, I think it might drop right in there just in time. I'm not sure. It's kind of a tough. It's going to be a tight shot. It might always hit the wall. I wish it was up here now so I could test it. But again, the keeps in EV are so ridiculously sieged up usually that stuff in the keep will get it before people get to this mortar to use it. Over in this range, you're not going to hit anything out there because there's not likely to be anything out there either. I suppose if they put catas to hit this wall right here, this is the 3 breakable walls while we're at it here. This is a breakable wall, that's a breakable wall, and that's a breakable wall. Lot of stuff that can break in Aldons. The one spot where I find this is, and I always turn the mortar this way, the one spot that I've always found that this mortar could actually be useful is kind of to thread the needle just over this. Like at 0 power, this will clip right on the top of this. So you just tap it just a little bit over 0 power, and it will kind of fall in over it. And if they didn't put the catapults right up next to it, you'll probably hit them, and you can destroy those little hidden catapults pretty easily there. So that's the one use for the mortar that that is probably the most significant. As for let's move. Well, since I have it built already, you got to kind of get used to targeting this thing weirdly, and when it's up against a ramp like this, and you'll see this in other towers too. Sometimes it's even worse, and you can't see the thing, and you just kind of gotta fire it and then get off and watch what happens, because sometimes your view gets blocked. But this is the most frequent used spot for a door treb. Technically, this tower can be defended with 1 door treb right there, an AC for this wall, and an AC for those walls. Unless they use overwhelmingly high numbers of siege. That's the minimum you need to hold this tower. The cannon's always useful if they don't burn it down. Same with oil. You gotta be careful when you're on the oil because it will kill you quite fast if they're burning it down, just from the white damage on it. As you can see, there's an AC here. This one is better for the doors. You can see you can hit catapults that are right here on the other side of the wall with this, but it's not the best angle. You can put ACs all along in here because this is all prime catapult area in here for this wall. I've seen him put wave back here. But AC is along in here, and this is a pretty defensible area for. It's tough for them to AOE if you put it far enough back. You can usually get like if you have an AC right here, you can probably this far in. There's not a lot that can hit you right here from AOE. This one, like I said, hits the door. You always kind of want to have an AC that hits the door so that when you have someone on the treb, you can have a little extra pressure on if they try to PV door with the AC. This is a common spot to put it, with the parapet here. Makes it a little harder to AoE to hit it. They can hit it from here, but it's a little more difficult. Maybe putting it back a little bit if you want to focus more on the door with this AC, or one here and one here, and that way, depending on which one they're focusing on, it'll be harder for them to hit one of the ACs. This is a kind of a unique thing you haven't seen yet, since this is the first EB video. I did all the Borderland ones first. Little things like, and it looks a little bit different when it's fortified. There's a little more room. But putting it back here gives you makes it much more harder for them to target, to hit it for things like Dragon Tooth. So it would be Meteor Shower Splash that could probably hit you back there, but it would take a little while to get the AC down. And the same thing with on this side right here. This parapet, or I'm not sure what you would call that. Maybe I think it's parapet. Creates a nice little border for you to put, straight back here, so it makes it really hard to AoE it down from the corners. Meteor Shower will probably hit it just barely like a splash, like I said before, which is good design on Arena's part, I think. The same with right here, kind of in this little nook. Maybe even back on this thing here. Decent spots for ACs. You're gonna want one around on this wall somewhere. It's a tough placement to put because when you're sieging something up, especially when it's paper and you're trying to upgrade it, you want to refrain as much as possible from placing siege on a wall that's destructible. Because if the wall gets destroyed, then there goes your siege too. So it's not always the best thing to put. So maybe if you could put it right here, as you can see, just far enough over so you can get where that mortar doesn't get. The mortar will land kind of in here somewhere, from what I was pointing out earlier. Moving on here, this is a lot of time people like to put things up here because it's harder to hit. But if you notice, unless you put it way over here, you don't have a lot of view. You're definitely safe. There's only going to be a small window of area you can hit, though. You won't be able to hit really anything there. You may have to close some of your UI out. Now, one of the other things I've noticed, like this door trap right here, I'll go out the portal. You can see that door trap really easily from out here. You just drop an AC probably right here, and Splash might not get it, maybe a little farther back. So you just so you can see over that, you drop an AC there, and it will destroy this trap. That means this trap is vulnerable if the enemy commander has any kind of brains, or if they know it's there from previous hit. That said, there's some really interesting places to put trebs in here. Like you can, all throughout in here, you can kind of tuck a treb in, and it will thread the needle kind of and hit that, and they won't see it. It's almost impossible to see over there, and any AC you put down will get destroyed by the treb because it'll be too close. So that's a better spot to put it. The downside is it's tougher to see the treb there, so it doesn't get refreshed as often. And when you don't refresh siege, we all know, it dies off, and you have to build it again, and it's just a big waste of supply. Another little tidbit I thought would be worth noting here. You notice this is just a regular treb. Whoever put that down, they probably just had regular trebs, they didn't have any subs. But in terms of doing damage to other siege, like rams or catapults, the damage from the trebuchet and a superior trebuchet is not that different. So you're just as well, pretty much, putting a regular trebuchet there to kill those rams. It'll kill it pretty much just as fast. And otherwise you would be wasting supply and valuable upgraded siege. So you're plenty fine with just a regular treb there. Not so with ACs. You always want to use superior ACs if you can, because regular ACs just don't really cut it when they have the Zerg that's on the ball. If the enemy is really on the ball, they'll be able to tank all your damage from a regular AC if it's just one of them. Okay, I think that's about it for the straight up defensive siege here. And of course you can always put ACs on the ground there to help defend the door. Some interesting things to know. If you can get it just perfect, it will likely get AoE down here pretty quickly. But if you can find just the right spot, you may be able to lay an AC back here to hit the Lord Room when they push into the Lord Room. There's a lot of hiding spots back here for mesmers and stuff, so you always want to check it too if they get in and you defend it. At the same time, an AC on the supply depot could do the same job, and slightly although you can see it, it's slightly more difficult to get to than, and people will just run by it straight to the Lord Room like they always do, because they don't want their bags. Okay, moving on to attacking here. We'll start with the side walls here. There's always the close catas here. That's a very frequently seen attack pattern. There's kind of a range. You can put catas anywhere within range back here, and the splash will still head pretty far back actually. Probably around here or so. And there's a blue cat there for some reason. You notice you're still relatively close to here. The ACs can hit. I know that the AC that you put on the wall, kind of there that we were looking at earlier, it will only come out to around here somewhere. Not too far. So anything past that, because traditionally you only see the ACs there unless they build some more up. So it's a good place to put catas there. As with a lot of the towers in EB, you want to watch out for things from the keep. So if you're trying to take that wall down, you throw the catas or the trebs, or let's actually go back here, and it is possible to put a treb on the other side of this gate. Kind of where the yak is, if you can set it up right. The distance isn't too bad. You can launch it over that and hit it with a treb. But chances are, if you're doing that, it's going to take a long time, and the wind up time on the treb is really long, and the chances are that's already fortified, because you're not going to do that for a paper tower. So it will take forever, and it will just be a big headache, and probably a waste of your time, and you'd be better spent trying to cap something else, or push somewhere else, or something like that. Or just get a fight somewhere else. That will bring people out to fight, though. That is a good way to bring out an enemy Zerg to fight if you're looking for a good brawl. Now the keep here, you can't see it yet because the keep got downgraded earlier, but there's a mortar site right there. I believe there's one right here too. But there's always going to be trebs and mortars all along this wall here. I'll just leave it for these now. And they can all hit anywhere in here except for maybe I think the mortar can kind of get into there if you're good. But everything in here is vulnerable, so you have to do it in high numbers of siege, dropping like 6 guild katas on that thing, and you have to have people with good rotation of the bubble on that to block the treb shots and the mortar shots. Otherwise, your siege will go down really fast. The enemies the defenders won't have to port back, because one person just took out all of your siege, all of your catapults or your trebs, or your rams for that matter. One of the interesting things about the green keep here is, and this isn't the case for the other two sides, you can put a treb in the keep that can hit the front gate of every one of your keep towers. The Wild Creek one's a little tougher to hit, because of the way the tower's situated, but the other three towers are really easy to hit from the keep, so you can have basically one person defending all of these towers if they have enough, enough notice. Now I will mention for this side, before I get into it while I'm over here, there's going to be a mortar right in here, actually it's right over here, and that will be good for hitting these two, any catapults you put in this area. It's also, and people, that drives me nuts, people will port back to the keep. You always want to make sure you can test the keep if you know you're going to be noticed or scouted. So they can't port back quite as easily. It's a little bit longer of a run if they run from spawn. But they'll port back to the keep, and it's like 5 steps to get to that mortar and start firing it. They don't have to put a lot of power on it, and they'll hit those katas or whatever that you have the close up on there. Now, anywhere in here is good for katas, and it's really good, especially with the change to white swords, so they don't appear anymore. Multiple times I've taken a guild kata, gone over to, this is probably during OCX time, so it's kind of the middle of the night for Americans. I'll go over and by myself on a thief or maybe a mesmer because of the stealth, I'll sneak all the way over here, drop a guild kata, put 20 supply into it, so you got the upgraded supply, which is always really fantastic, especially when you love guild katas like I do. You drop a guild kata here, you put the supply in. You don't want to cap one of these camps. Your guild kata will very likely not be noticed if it's tucked in over here. No one ever comes over here to look. And if they do, it's a pretty unique situation. Then you can port back to your other keep. Your red one or your blue one here. Get supply again, come back, finish off the catapult if you don't have anyone with you. And pretty much without the white swords happening anymore, you can pretty much sit here all day catapulting this stuff down if there's no scout. And like I said, during OCX time on the NA servers, there's hardly anybody playing. Just the few OCX guilds on each server, and they're usually more interested in fighting each other and having fun than they are playing Siege Wars. But katas can go it's a traditional kata range. You can go way back here. But the farther you go back here, the easier to be hit by that mortar and the tower. Okay, and there's one other thing I want to show before I kind of call it here on this video. This little spot right here. Okay, let's do it right there. Okay. If you're ever running around here as a thief or a mesmer, or you get scouted, like say you got a havoc group or something, and you get scouted and you want to kill sometime, myself so they stop following me. You go along this wall here, and there's a nice little spot, kind of before, just before you reach here. It's pretty easy to find if you know it's there. And you just walk in here, and you can sit here all day, and no one will ever find you. I've seen an 80-man Zerg cram into here. The downside to that is I've also seen an 80-man Zerg, enemy Zerg, cram into here as our Zerg chased them because they didn't realize we were chasing them. And this is just like, you don't want to get stuck in this little area here if the enemy is everywhere out here. It's just, you're gonna die. and you're gonna die fast, and they're gonna get lots of bags. And I would love to be an Ellie or a Necro in that case. So there's that little spot. You can kind of see where it is from here. The block scale just came out.
Quickly.
I think that's it for this edition of So You Want to Be Axe Ben. Thank you for joining me. If you have any additional siege placements you want to throw out there, go ahead and put it in the comments, and I'll make a note of it and include it when I will likely be redoing these videos at some point in the future when I can get a fully upgraded tower to do them with, and I can actually throw down siege to complement it, because I don't want to throw down siege just to waste it on a video. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.